Caroline Levit's response that broke the internet. You won't believe what happened. In the vibrant city of Austin, where music and politics collide in cafés, avenues, and auditoriums, something unusual is about to happen. It's evening at the Lone Star Civic Hall, a space typically reserved for discussions on local reforms, education policies, and environmental issues. But tonight, the spotlight points to something bigger, or rather, to someone who has been causing unexpected uproar in political circles. Caroline Levit, a 29-year-old conservative woman who refuses to follow the script imposed on her generation. Outside, a crowd gathers in front of the Civic Hall, holding signs, recording videos, and commenting in real time. This is an election, a protest, or a rally. It's just another live edition of the most-watched political talk show today, Voices in Debate. But the audience knows, and the city seems to sense, that this won't be an ordinary episode. The air buzzes with anticipation for something that doesn't yet have a name, but everyone feels it. Inside the auditorium, bright lights shine, cameras are positioned, and microphones are live. The host, Dean McAllister, charismatic and experienced, smiles at the audience. He knows when he's about to witness a moment that will spiral out of control. And there, seated to the right of the stage, is Caroline, steady gaze, composed posture, exuding the confidence of someone who didn't come just to debate, but to leave a mark. What no one knows, not the audience, not the producers, not even those involved, is that this night will be remembered as the moment an entire generation found its voice in prime time. Because sometimes all a revolution needs is a lit stage and a live camera. The debate begins cordially. Dean McAllister, with his professorial tone and precise gestures, introduces the night's guests, experts, journalists, and, of course, two figures who couldn't be more contrasting. On one side, Caroline Levit, the young conservative voice sparking heated discussions in universities and on social media. On the other, Julian Hart, a 63-year-old award-winning actor, progressive activist, and symbol of a generation that marched for rights, equality, and free expression, but who, according to many, lost the ability to listen along the way. The first questions are routine: the economy, free speech, the role of government in schools. Caroline responds with firmness and data. Julian counters with emotion and personal anecdotes. The audience is divided, attentive. But something is coming. Something Julian has been carefully preparing in the back of his mind. He watches Caroline as she speaks, smiles, waits. Then, as the discussion shifts toward cultural issues, Julian leans slightly forward, his voice carrying the same tone that has charmed audiences for decades, but now laced with subtle venom. With all due respect, Caroline, you seem more like a Gen Z puppet than someone with ideas of your own. The words land like a thunderbolt. Dean's eyes widen. The audience falls silent, as if witnessing a taboo being broken live on air. The accusation is in the subtext. Caroline doesn't think for herself. She merely repeats what others have told her. Worse, she's labeled not for her ideas, but for her age, as if being young automatically invalidates her. Julian leans back in his chair, satisfied. The attack wasn't just personal, it was generational. And on a show broadcast live to millions, that kind of provocation isn't an accident. It's strategy. The silence that follows isn't empty. It's an omen. For a moment that feels like an eternity, the studio becomes a capsule of tension. Julian's comment still reverberates in the air, hanging like thick smoke over the stage. The cameras capture every nuance. The arch of Dean McAllister's eyebrows, the slight shift in the audience as some exchange bewildered glances, while others keep their eyes locked on Caroline, waiting for her response. The silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's a collective anticipation of a spark that may or may not ignite a fire. Dean tries to mask his nerves by adjusting the papers in front of him. He knows he shouldn't intervene. He also knows that any word now would be a mistake. The viewers at home, on social media, in bars where the show is streaming live, all hold their breath. The live chat freezes for a second, as if even the algorithms are suspended in anticipation. Caroline remains still. No shifting gaze, no immediate protest. She simply stares at Julian. Her eyes show neither anger nor surprise, only calculation. The kind of look from someone who learned early that strength often lies in silence before speech. She knows the weight of a response. She knows this moment could define her or destroy her. The camera zooms in slightly on her face. Her eyes lift slowly. Her posture shifts subtly but noticeably. She turns slightly toward her verbal aggressor, resting her hands calmly on her lap. A faint smile begins to form, and in that gesture alone, it's clear she won't just respond. She'll turn the provocation into a stage. In the studio, not even the clink of a pen can be heard. It's the kind of silence that precedes historic downfalls or unlikely rises. And everyone knows something big is about to happen. With a composed movement, Caroline crosses her legs, adjusts the microphone delicately, and delivers, with serenity that starkly contrasts the attack she just endured. Interesting. Coming from someone who spent a lifetime memorizing lines. At least I write my own. The words hit like a punch, but without yelling, without theatrics. It's a clean blade, sharpened by self-control and intelligence. A murmur ripples through the audience, followed by stifled laughter and wide-eyed glances. Julian, for a brief moment, seems thrown off balance. The smirk of superiority fades behind neutral expression, or at least what tries to pass for one. Caroline doesn't back down. With the same calm, articulate tone, she continues. What we're seeing today, Mr. Hart, isn't a conflict between generations. It's a conflict between authenticity and performance. You, from your artistic and political generation, learn to say what sounds good. But we grew up in a world where everything can be paused, analyzed, and debunked in seconds. Our generation can't hide behind narratives. We have to live what we say, or the internet tears us apart. The audience reacts intensely. The divide is visible. Some applaud, others whisper. Dean, visibly tense, tries to regain control of the show, but Caroline has already taken the reins. Her voice grows stronger, yet never loses its composure. If defending ideas with conviction makes me a puppet, then so be it. I'd rather that than live off empty applause and comfortable scripts. I wasn't shaped by Hollywood. I was shaped by the reality of a generation that inherited broken promises. Then she looks directly into the camera, as if speaking to everyone at home. Maybe the problem isn't my youth, but the discomfort it causes in those who've already settled. In that instant, the tables turn. The initial provocation, designed to destabilize her, becomes her springboard. Caroline doesn't just respond, she commands. And the stage that was meant to expose her now crowns her before millions. Less than 30 minutes after the show ends, clips of the clash between Caroline Levit and Julian Hart spread like wildfire across social media. On TikTok, the snippet of her memorizing lines retort explodes, paired with dramatic soundtracks, bold captions, and thousands of comments from young viewers. She didn't flinch. She spoke for us. Finally, someone who talks like us. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like hashtag Levit in Austin, hashtag Genzo Voice, and hashtag Not a Puppet Quickly trend. Public figures, journalists, influencers, and even ideological opponents share the clips, some in enthusiastic support, others with hasty critiques, but all inevitably reacting. Silence is no longer an option. Caroline has become the moment's defining topic. Across WhatsApp groups, Instagram reels, stories, and emergency podcasts, the debate is dissected, reenacted, remixed. One user edits a montage comparing Julian's demeanor to his past acting roles, suggesting he wasn't making an argument on that debate stage, but playing a part. Another posts a video titled, 5 Rhetorical Lessons from Caroline Levit, and one symbolic slap live on national TV. Meanwhile, TV networks replay the moment, and editors scramble to adjust headlines. The new voice of the right? Asks a liberal outlet. The courage Gen Z was missing, declares a conservative blog. Images of Caroline, steady gaze locked on the camera, her sharp reply echoing, become a symbol, and, of course, memes, some ironic, others proud, all inevitably viral. Within hours, what was supposed to be just another late-night talk show becomes a cultural milestone. Caroline didn't just win an argument. She captured the spirit of a generation that refuses to be defined by cliches or silenced by manufactured superiority. And in the chaotic, powerful language of the internet, her response doesn't just go viral, it becomes a reference. Seated in his chair, visibly rattled by the audience's explosive reaction and Caroline's total control of the narrative, Julian Hart tries to recover. He leans on one of his classic lines, delivered with grave tones and theatrical pauses. I lived through years when speaking out could cost you your life. Today, you all talk too much and listen too little. But the impact is minimal. Words that might have once moved crowds now sound artificial, like relics from an outdated script. Caroline doesn't rush to reply. She waits, observes, and when she speaks, it's with a clarity that pierces all pretension. And yet, you didn't hear a word I said. The audience erupts. The timing is perfect. The response disarming. Dean McAllister, who until now had tried to maintain balanced moderation, chooses silence. He understands he's witnessing something rare. A guest who didn't just participate in a debate. She redefined it live. Caroline then turns to Julian again, this time with less confrontation and more revelation. I'm not here to erase your history. I'm here to tell mine. You fought for the right to speak. I fight to be heard without others defining me before I even open my mouth. That's freedom, too. The silence that follows isn't tense. It's respectful. Julian crosses his arms. No rebuttal left. And in the studio, it's as if everyone understands something definitive has just been said. Rehearsed rhetoric gives way to relentless authenticity. Dean closes the show with a strained voice, struggling to maintain composure amid the energy electrifying the room. The audience rises, not for him, not for the show itself, but for Caroline, the young woman who walked in as a guest and left as the protagonist of a historic night. She didn't defeat Julian. She defeated the caricature they tried to pin on her. And she did without shouting, without theatrics, just with courage, clarity, and conviction. The next morning, Austin wakes up different. The streets are the same. The cafés still serve espresso. The newspapers still circulate. But the air is charged with discovery. On the covers of major publications, one image dominates. Caroline Levit, seated under the voices and debate spotlight, eyes steady, posture unshaken. The captions vary, but the message is the same. The night Gen Z spoke and was heard. Political analysts scramble to interpret what happened. Some downplay it as media spectacle. Others acknowledge this wasn't just a clash of ideas. It was a turning point. What was meant to be a routine appearance by a young conservative became a declaration of identity for an entire generation. On CNN, pundits debate whether Caroline represents a new right. On Fox, she's hailed as the leader we've been waiting for. On YouTube, videos titled Caroline Levit Destroys Act Alive rack up millions of views. But beyond the noise, something deeper happens. Young people who once stayed silent in hostile spaces now share clips of the debate with pride. Teachers bring it into classroom discussions. Parents and children talk politics not with fear, but curiosity. Caroline didn't start a movement, but she reignited a spark. She proved it's possible to occupy spaces with unwavering firmness, without sacrificing grace, that you can disagree without diminishing yourself. In 20 minutes, she shattered the passive, insecure image slapped onto her generation. At the Lone Star Civic Hall, where it all happened, there's already talk of renaming the main auditorium. Not officially, of course, but among the crew, the security guards, the show's producers. They now call it, half jokingly, half reverently, the Turning Point Stage. In Austin and across America, something shifted that night. Not because Caroline won an argument, but because she challenged the caricature of her youth. And in doing so, she made space for thousands of other voices to rise. This time, to truly be heard. And so, on that warm Texas night, more than words went live. A signal did. A signal that generations don't need to be at war. But when confrontation comes, it reveals who's reciting lines and who's writing the future. Caroline Levit didn't join voices and debate for applause. She came to be heard and left being remembered, because while many speak for claps, few dare to speak from conviction. And conviction, my friends, has echoes. It has weight. It has consequences. So now I ask you, in an age of rehearsed talking points, who still has something real to say? If this story made you think, gave you chills, or made you want to applaud to your screen, then you get it. And if you get it, don't leave without being part of this community. Subscribe, hit the bell, and tell me in the comments which line hit you hardest in that debate. Because here, every week, you don't just watch stories, you step into them. See you next time